And then in the whole lockdown situation, I thought about what I wanted to do and applied to university to study music and sound production. At the moment, I've been trying to sort of like throw myself in the deep end and make styles of music that is not anywhere near what I've grown up on. So I've been trying to make reggae music, which has been a real punch in the face because I just didn't realise how hard it was. I've just grown up with, if you want something, you have to go and get it and you have to make it. We were all sort of like sitting around a table and he pulled out the guitar and played it to us. And as soon as he played it to us, we all sat there and we were just gobsmacked. It was incredible. So I said to him, I want to produce that. So the next day, went round with all my studio equipment and recorded it for him.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Unstructured Podcast. Today we're joined by a new guest. Fred, how are you, mate?
Yeah, not bad, thank you. How are you?
Doing okay, doing all right. Imran, are you all right?
Doing all good, mate.
Fred, I know you from back in college. We spent a couple of years doing a sports science course. What's life been like since then?
Yeah, so I left college and obviously came out of my sports science diploma and my fitness training and business. So I was just working at Tesco's, just sort of like doing some work on the side and going out and partying as people and doing things like that. Then I realised I wanted a full-time job. So I started looking and actually started working for a company just sort of around the corner from me. So I was working full time for about a year and a half. So yeah, in that role, I was just sort of started off just doing like general admin office stuff, and then sort of like worked the way up a little bit. And now I was doing things like speaking to architects on the company's products and things like that. So I was traveling around London, basically doing presentations on the company's products. And then when there's like a big build or something like this, then they'll put this company's like products in and use them. So I was doing that for about a year and a half, coming up to 2 years. And then in the whole lockdown situation, I thought about what I wanted to do and applied to university to study music and sound production. And here I am studying it. So that's what I've been up to.
How far through your music production course are you?
So I started this September. So yeah, I'm 5 weeks in now. So yeah, really enjoying it, but it's quite technical. And obviously when I went to college and stuff, I didn't study music. I've always had an interest in it, but I never studied it. So the technical side, I struggled to get the hang of, but yeah, slowly getting there.
When was the point at which you decided, obviously you had a secure job beforehand. Mm-hmm. When was the point at which you decided, you know what, I'm going to go after this. I'm going to do the best I can and just go full throttle.
Yeah, it was in lockdown, the first lockdown, not the one that's coming obviously next week. So it's the first lockdown. I think I started working from home. And then when the whole sort of like furlough scheme came out, I got put on that. And then when I just had all this spare time, obviously I was making music. And before the whole COVID situation, me and my friends would always just like make songs together, like when we were pissed, just have a bit of fun. But then I thought I really want to take it seriously and like sort of like master my craft, I'd say, and just sort of get it as good as possible. So I think it was around April for obviously BIM. I study at BIM now, which is in Brighton, so it's just around the corner from me. So I thought it's a no-brainer. So I applied to that and see how I go, and I got in, and now I'm studying it. So yeah, it was during lockdown. It's
quite a creative thing, and I suppose, do you find it therapeutic or like an outlet that you can sort of derive, I don't know, emotions and such?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I think I've always been doing something creative, whether it was music. Obviously, I had the clothing line, and I made YouTube videos when I was younger. And I used to make like really bad like dubstep music when I was like 13, and when I was like Skrillex was like the next big thing.
Yeah,
and it was horrid.
Yeah, I remember like when I was younger, I think around 12 or 13. Dad doesn't know this, but I tried to start up my own YouTube channel, and it went fucking horribly. I beef with another YouTube channel, and that's still up there. And my mates still we're not putting any of that in this, but my mates still bring it up to me to this day and still show me the videos. Whenever I go to school, they get the teacher to show those videos on the like the screen thing. It'd be really embarrassing. But yeah, no, of course. Creative outlets such. So obviously you got a few songs on SoundCloud. What are they and what sort of music is it? So then people know what to expect.
Yeah, so I have a couple of songs in there, and they're quite varied. But I obviously I play the guitar, so I use a lot of like guitars and stringed instruments in my music. But I would usually say like the artists that not try and replicate, but like the main sort of influence is like Mac Miller, which is like a lot of like jazz,
Yeah.
sort of like slow rap sort of type music. So yeah, like that, a lot of live instruments I tried to put into it. So I'd say it's like jazz, rap, hip hop.
Most of your songs at the moment, well, the two that I've listened to are mainly instrumentals.
Hmm.
Do you plan on coming out with, I don't know, something with your own vocals behind it, or are you just solidly looking to sort of keep it as like a producer standpoint and let other people do the vocals and the written lyrics?
Yeah, well, it's a bit of both, really. I mean, I have a couple of songs that I've had that I've made that obviously me and my mates have heard that I've never actually like released, that have my vocals on it. And when I was working full time and sort of had the cash in my pocket, I was having like singing lessons and vocal lessons, trying to see how far I could take it. But some people just aren't meant for it.
Yeah.
And that's for me. I think I'm better off just sort of like being behind the scenes and doing all the instrumental side of it. I mean, I enjoy rapping and doing that over, but for the moment, I'm not sure if I'll have any vocals out yet. I'll just sort of focus on the producing side of it. But I have had a couple songs that I've had my vocals on top, but I'm not sure anyone will hear them anytime soon.
I mean, are they released yet, or are they
No,
still
they're
like?
not released. So they're all just. I mean, I've had a couple of songs, and and my mate that's also did the Onstage Collective with me. We made a music video for one of my songs and things like this. But yeah, it was when I first started. So obviously, where I was, like I say, like 8 months ago to now, it is like a massive progression. So the music back then was not great. But yeah, recently I've just been trying to work with other artists and producing for other people. So haven't been sort of focusing that's like so much recently on myself and my vocals. So not sure anyone will hear it.
Going back to Onstage Collective, what is it and how did it all come about?
Yeah, so me and my friends have always had this sort of idea of like being on the stage, and we call ourselves like quite a collective, like a creative, like collective group of people. So then we thought we'd put the two names together and create On Stage Collective, which during the first lockdown we used it as like a platform to, obviously my friend Tom Anson, he's an aspiring actor and studying at theatre school. So we sort of used it for him to promote his acting and for me to promote my music, and almost just like as a page. It's just started as us, but obviously down the future we want to get other people involved and things like this. But yeah, it's just sort of like a platform for us to sort of express our arts.
For me and the people that I know who also do music, sometimes they'll have a song or a moment in their life in which they kind of put it on music, either a deep time or a moment in their life where they weren't doing so well or where shit hit the fan. Has that ever come across to you, and have you ever produced anything that you feel has your emotion coming through it?
Yeah, I have. I've made a couple songs like that where I've sort of like really sat down when like I am feeling low and feeling all these things and try and like almost like release it out of my body like into the music. Um, but yeah, I'm not particularly the best like songwriter. So usually the way that I do it is like through the instruments. Like I made a one song that had so many different styles of instruments in it and tried to make it almost like you know when people say like they're feeling blue or something like this. I tried to like when you hear the song, like it makes you think of the color blue. So I tried to do things like that, try and like link different things together, like colors and words, link it to music and try and change it like that. So that's sort of like what I do when I am feeling like
Yeah.
in those moments. But
It is like amazing when, I don't know, for me, music has been a thing that I've listened to throughout my teens, and it's kind of shaped me and also shapes my day-to-day mood. I mean, if I'm going out, it's the hype playlist. If I'm feeling sad, it's a sad playlist, and it really gets you into those moods and sort of brings out your emotions more than you really think. Like if I'm in a sad mood, maybe I'll put a happy playlist on, like something that will really put me upbeat. Is there any artists in which, apart from obviously Mac Miller, but I suppose actually better question is there an artist that you dream to produce for?
Yeah, and there's a couple people, but I think a lot of the people that I look up to like that are producers themselves. There's people like Pharrell Williams and Kanye West and people like that. So they're typically definitely Kanye was the person that I listened to like whenever I was feeling down, or all through like secondary school when I struggled like during the GCSE phase. I struggled with like mental health problems. That's who I listened to. So yeah, at some point in my life, wish to sort of meet him, but don't expect to be making any music for him because I think he does it all for himself. But
Yeah.
yeah, definitely Kanye West.
Do any of your current songs that you've made have any relation to anything that may have happened in your life?
No, I think the songs that I've had like that are released that people can listen to now, not so much, because they're just the songs that I just sort of like created, like when I'm not in like a low phase or like or a really like happy phase when I'm just sort of like content. They're the songs that I've released when I'm like in that like frame of mind. But definitely along the lines, along sort of along the journey, there will be other songs that I have made that I will sort of plan to release. I have been like in those moments and do reflect things in my life. But at the moment, no, there's not. So I wouldn't say there's a song that sort of like defines a moment in time just yet.
Are you currently working on any more songs to come out?
Yeah, so I've been I produced a song for my mate Sam Cassidy, who Tom Anson introduced me to. So he sort of did. He does like punk music and like indie and alternative sort of like rock, I would call it. And so I think this was like in January. I sort of like helped record him one of his songs, and obviously that's when I sort of started doing it. So it wasn't great. So I just sort of been trying to master it again once I've been at uni and sort of studying all this stuff. So now I know a lot more. I'm sort of going back and trying to master it again. So hopefully that will come out very soon.
I think most producers have that sort of signature thing that I either put in the start or the end of like a music
Hmm.
song. Like DJ Khaled,
Like a
obviously.
producer tag.
Yeah, a producer tag. Do you have any, or do you have any in mind that you want to put into your music?
Yeah, well, like my voice is not particularly sound. It doesn't particularly sound great on the microphone. So like a lot of the times, like obviously DJ Khaled, it's himself talking.
Mm.
And I did have one. I think it was quite funny. I had like a SpongeBob like generator, and I had like SpongeBob saying it for me, which it was all a bit of a joke. But yeah, I think it's difficult because obviously I haven't sort of like whittled down like which sound I create because obviously when
Mm.
you have like people like DJ Mustard and DJ Khaled, like once you hear the producer tag, it's almost like sets the tone for the song. You know what type of
Mm.
music it is.
Yeah.
Obviously, at the moment, I'm just trying to produce as many genres as possible. So I don't have a tag that sort of fits in for all of them. So at the moment, I don't have one.
What are the main difficulties going from genre to genre and sort of changing your music style from those? Like, what do you face as like something that's difficult?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the moment I've been trying to sort of like throw myself in the deep end and make styles of music that is not anywhere near what I've grown up on. So I've been trying to make reggae music, which has been a real punch in the face because I just didn't realize how hard it was. And it
Yeah.
almost sounds very like it's all very upbeat and it's all like in your head it's very simple to do and then doing it is just it's very difficult. So I think that the main sort of difficulties is just noticing like the different instruments in it and the layering, and obviously with reggae music it has like a drop beat, which
Mm.
is basically it means out of the one, two, three, four, it doesn't hit on the one.
Mm.
It does it on the two and the two and the four.
Yeah.
So that was like the main difficulty. And for me, I can't play the keyboard and I can't play the drums. So that was hard for me to sort of get my head around. But eventually got there. So that's sort of the main difficulty, just learning how to play the instruments, whether you're playing them or doing it on the computer on sort of like a USB keyboard, something like that. That was the main difficulties that I face.
What instruments do you know? Do you know any instruments, or do you kind of just pick up the sounds from wherever? Because
Yeah.
I've got one of my mates who is also a producer, and he produced this song, and he told me like, oh yeah, no, I just kind of keep audio files of different noises that I hear on a day-to-day basis, whether it's just knocking on the wood that's in front of me, or like whatever sounds he comes across. He records it. One time he told me that he recorded himself farting and like put it like hid it in the song, and only he know. Well, I mean, I know now, but only he knows that. But like, yeah, how do you get the audio files, and what's the process from that?
Yeah, well, I play the guitar, so I have like a selection of different guitars that I use in my music. So that's the one instrument that I can play sort of like fluently, and I can play like the bass, although I don't have a bass guitar. Like I can play it. I think it's very similar to like playing riffs on the guitar. Obviously, it's pretty much the same shaped instrument, just four strings instead of six.
Yeah.
And obviously with the keyboard, I can play like simple chords and things I need to, but obviously I can't read music either, so I can't like play it once I see it. Um, but I do keep like a library of different sounds and samples and things that I can like implement into my music whenever I need to.
What's your opinion on sort of TikTok songs in that sort of genre? Because obviously, within recent years, we've had like the increase of TikTok and how that's completely changed producers and musicians. If you have one song that is played primarily on TikTok and people hear it over and over again, they're more likely to, play it. And like, what's your opinion? And have you ever thought about attempting to do that?
hmm Yeah, well, I think I personally don't have anything against TikTok. I think it's probably the most well-made app like on social media there is. It's obviously it takes up the whole screen and it's like endless scrolling, and the way that it's been like developed, I think is nothing's ever come close to it in my opinion. And regarding the music that's on it, I think there is a sound that like resonates, and like because obviously TikToks is primarily used by children and people of like lower ages, so they I think people make music that will appeal to those ages a lot more. But I have no problem with it. Obviously, it's done. If you look in the charts now, I think 70% of like the top 50 have all come from TikTok or like
Yeah.
got big on TikTok. So I think it's great, and it's showing because obviously when you're scrolling, you could come across any video. I think it's good for sort of like getting yourself out there and sort of like bringing in other audiences to your music. So I've been thinking about doing it. And in a couple of weeks' time, I've been filming some YouTube videos and stuff because I want to sort of like I almost like build a portfolio.
Mm.
So when I come out of university, I'll sort of like try and build up a bit of a following so people can sort of like know me for like being
Yeah.
a music producer, so they can come straight to me. So yeah, I've been thinking about doing YouTube videos. Recorded a couple, just haven't put them out yet. And also going to put them onto TikTok because you never know who's going to be scrolling, and some person they sort of like come across it without clicking on it.
Mm.
So it's a great way once you sort of like have them there. It's a great way to like hook them and reel them in.
Yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely. Like, so if you were to produce a song for the purposes of it hopefully blowing up on TikTok, is
hmm
there a particular sound or a particular genre that you kind of go for that you think would really resonate to whoever's using it? Because obviously, like, if you get TikTok dances that will revolve around the song, they will blow up immediately. If you get one
Yeah,
song that's like done by Addison Rae or Charlie D'Amelio, it just pops. Is there
yeah,
any
definitely.
particular sound that you'd want to implement?
I'm not too sure. I haven't tried to make like a TikTok song yet.
Hmm.
I might actually try and do that, but I think a lot of the times it's just very simple, like very simple lyrics. And because obviously they dance to it, so they want sort of like a very rhythmic beat, and it's like I think very simple, so people can like do the steps almost like a 1, 2, 3, 4, and they show, and it feels like it's very easy to get the hang of. So I think
Hmm.
yeah, just trying to keep it simple, but tasteful at the same time. I think that's probably the formula.
You've said that your voice on the tracks,
hmm
you're not doing that. If you were going to create a TikTok song or a tune, let's say, would you be collaborating with a singer? Would you be collaborating with a rapper? What kind of artist would you be going with?
Yeah, I think with a TikTok song, I'll probably go with like a rapper, because I think that's just more popular on TikTok at the moment. And also I think TikTok has done a lot for like the rap music at the moment. I think it's obviously it's widening the audience for it. But yeah, on TikTok, I think obviously there are like singers on there, but I think if you want to make like a TikTok song that's really going to blow up, I think have like a rapper with like a very simple verse and like a very like tasteful beat behind it. So I think that's probably the way to go.
Tell me if I'm wrong, but like from what I've seen in the music scene, at least on the top charts, because I kind of scroll through them quite often, and in the past, like I'd say decades, it's slowly sort of emerged that like rap and grime and like other variances of that have sort of made their way to the top of the charts as opposed to your typical pop songs that you'd normally find in the top 50 charts.
Mhm.
What's your opinion on that? And then like why do you think that is? Or is it just a growing audience? Or what
Yeah, I mean, I think it's taken some time. I think obviously grime started way back in the day with people like Wiley and Skepta and things like that. But I think nowadays it's sort of like you have people like Stormzy and Dave and J Hus, so almost like they've sort of grown up listening to it and they've sort of like adapted the sound to like a wider audience. And so I think it's also part of having people like Stormzy and personalities that people like. So obviously Stormzy's very well, like very outspoken, and he's done things for Grenfell and things like that. And so is Dave, and I think they're a good role model for people. And I think that's why people like the music so much because they see who's making it and they resonate with the artist and they support them as well. So I think that's half the reason. And yeah, it's quite exciting to see people like Skepta and Dave winning winning the Mercury Prize Award at the Brits and things like that. So obviously,
uh,
Stormzy has headlined Glastonbury. So yeah, I think it's definitely the artists being role models and things like that that has sort of like elevated the genre.
Yeah, I mean, I think I watched a video of Dave doing a performance at the Brits where he outlined sort of black culture, and
Hmm.
I thought that slapped. It
Yeah,
was
it was amazing.
amazing. It really, I mean, I get this time to time, but you know that feeling that music gives you when it literally just makes your skin sort of have like goosebumps,
Yeah,
makes your hair stand, and it just gives you an innate reaction to wow, this is either really deep or the vocals are really nice or just something in you. And it's amazing how music works like that.
I think it happens a lot with live music.
Mm.
Like when I want to be inspired, I don't listen to like songs that are on Spotify. As you go on YouTube and see the live performance of it, because I think live music is personally more powerful. So that's when you see the people like Dave doing the performance at the Brits, and I think he performed his song Black. Um, I think they're the sort of moments and they're the songs that really like motivate people and make, as you say, like give you goosebumps and things. So it's definitely with me. Live music definitely sort of like gives me that feeling.
What I'd be to be at a festival. Fuck me. I'd give my
Yeah,
fucking
Oh.
legs.
yeah, literally.
Oh, God, it's
Yeah, such a shame.
Lockdown coming up. I mean, by the time this video is out, we'll be in lockdown.
Hmm.
We'll be
yes.
a week in lockdown, which is crazy. Speaking of lockdown, would you be releasing or doing anything when lockdown does hit different to what you are now?
Not so much. I mean, obviously, I'm studying from home at the moment, and I only sort of like go outside the house, obviously on weekends and stuff. I play football, but obviously that's all been cancelled. Um, I go out to the studio to do lessons and things like this, but all the music that I'm creating is inside my house. So I don't think I'm going to be changing my lifestyle that much because I've sort of almost like been living in lockdown since summer ended. So I don't think I'll be doing anything much differently, but I think it frees up like the weekends to just really focus on it and just get better and better each day.
Are you going to
Yeah.
be releasing any new tracks or anything at all?
Yeah, so hopefully the song that I keep mentioning about that I produced for my mate Sam. Hopefully that'll be coming out at some point in the lockdown. And yeah, just been working on other songs and things like this. So there will be a couple projects that I'll be releasing, but yeah, the song that I did for Sam will hopefully be the main one.
Cool. Can you release the name of the song or
Yeah, it's called Eyes of Gold.
Eyes of
So
Gold?
it's a song that he wrote and he made, and we were all sort of like sitting around a table, and he pulled out his guitar and played it to us. And as soon as he played it to us, we all sat there and we were just gobsmacked. It was incredible. So I said to him, like I said, I want to produce that. So the next day, went round with all my studio equipment and recorded it for him. So Eyes of
Nice.
Gold. So coming out soon.
Whenever it does come out, though, let us know. We'll promote it on the channel. And to anyone who's watching, who might be watching this a few weeks after, definitely go search it up. I'm sure it'll be on SoundCloud. Have you got any other platforms in which you release music?
Yeah, I have a Spotify, but there's no music on it as yet. Um, but yeah, there will be music on there at the moment. And the thing is, it's difficult because obviously when I collaborate with people, I'm sort of doing the instrumental and they're doing the vocals. So with Spotify, if they're not on Spotify as well, and you can't almost like tag them as like
Yeah.
other people on it, it just looks like it's me doing the vocals, which is half of the problem. And Spotify is almost like not as easy and not as available to everyone like SoundCloud is. So with Spotify, I think you got to wait for the people to sort of like get on it as well. But yeah, I do have Spotify, but there's just no music on it at the moment.
I want to touch on something that we spoke about right at the beginning of the episode, and it was clothing. So I remember during college when we were in the same class. I remember you came out with your own clothing line and brand then. At the time, I didn't really think much of it, but now growing up and kind of thinking more about like a business, trying to have more of a business mind, I, I look back and I go, well, fair fucks for doing that. Fair play for
Yeah, yeah.
trying to do it at like a young age. What was the brand called and what made you start it? And obviously, is it still up and running?
So the one that I had in college was called Frederick Robin. So obviously my full name is Frederick Robin Newnham. So obviously it's my first and middle name, and obviously the logo is a robin that I drew and sort of like put onto the hoodies and things that I made. And I've always been interested in clothing, and especially around the time of college and secondary school, and I was listening to people like Kanye West heavily, and he was obviously getting into the whole clothing industry as well. I think he was probably the main sort of influence. And in secondary school as well, I had a clothing brand called Fade Attire, which me and my friend, you know him as well, Harry. Um, Me and him did it. We just sold t-shirts to our mates in school and didn't think much of it. But yeah, the Frederick Robin was the other time I thought, well, I spoke to my parents about it as well, and they said if you're gonna do it and go and chase it, like now's the time to do it when you're in college and you don't have a mortgage and a family and things like this. You just got to try these things. So a lot of it I loved, as I said earlier, like I love doing like I've always been creative and always been like designing things and graphic designer. So I thought it's a great way for me to get the art that I've made on like any graphic like illustrator or designer and put it onto like something that I can wear and promote. So I just sold a couple hoodies here and there, but I didn't focus on it enough, which I don't know if is a regret in my life. I don't know if I made the wrong decision, but obviously now I'm onto music. But yeah, I don't do it anymore. But hopefully, sort of later in life, hopefully get back to it. But yeah, I've always had an interest in clothing and had a couple things here and there. And always, I just even if I don't do it now, like I still design clothes. But I just don't sort of put it out anywhere because I think there's so much time and effort and money as well that you got to put into it. And obviously now I'm a student, it's not as easy to do. But yeah, Frederick Robin was the one back in college that I was doing.
What was the process like making clothes? Because I don't know anyone who kind of makes their own clothes or sort of has their own clothing line.
Yeah, so it started, I think the one back at the Fade Attire was just getting like wholesale t-shirts and designing and getting almost like I think it was like t-shirt transfer paper and cutting them out and then just ironing them on. It was terrible and they didn't last very long and the t-shirts were cheap. It was fun to do. And then the whole Frederick Robin thing, I got into sewing. My mum and my grandma are very good sewers, and they sort of like taught me how to like embroider by hand. So I started doing that a lot, and I really enjoyed it because it was very time consuming. But when you really put so much time into something, it can look amazing. So I started embroidering the Robin onto things. I used to sew my shoes as well. I do little logos and things on my shoes. I used to enjoy doing. So I didn't almost like make the garments myself, but I would like sew things onto them, which that was the process I did. And obviously I did the printing and got them vinyl printed and things like this. So that's what I did, but I wasn't actually cutting it and sewing the t-shirts and the hoodies myself because I can't do that.
It's really nice to meet like other people who obviously are business minded, and I mean you got there a lot earlier than we did. But yeah, no, have you always had sort of that business initiative, or did it come from, say, family or other outlets that sort of inspired you from a very young age to sort of pursue these things and just go for it?
Yeah, I'm not too sure what it was that really gave me. I think my dad is extremely hardworking, and I think sort of growing up and seeing that work ethic was probably the reason why I have almost like a business mind. He's self-employed as well, so I think that's probably the reason why I've sort of have this mindset. But yeah, I think I think I don't know what it is, but I've just grown up with if you want something, you have to go and get it and you have to make it. So I just started, and obviously, as I said, I'm very creative, so I was doing all the creative things and trying to make something of it. So I think that's how it came about.
Is there like a celebrity or a person you look at and think you inspire me to go and get what I want?
Yeah, definitely. I think people like Kanye West definitely, and
He's a big
especially
one.
because he's been shit on so many times. You know what I mean? You know, he's got up and he's dusted himself off, and yeah, I think definitely him. He's sort of done things that people said he couldn't. And obviously now he's running for president. I don't know too much about that, and obviously I can't vote. And I
Yeah.
think nowadays he's very different now than was when he was like when I was really like into him. But yeah, I would say him because he just sort of like defied which industry he wanted to go into. He did music, and then he did like producing like videos and stuff for other people, and then clothing. So yeah, I'd say definitely
Nice.
him.
Imran, is there someone that you kind of look up to or like inspire towards?
I mean, Gary Vee really motivates me on a day-to-day basis. Whenever I listen to him, it's like a complete change in mindset. But in my own sort of
Gary Vee
field,
is the goat.
oh,
I love Gary
he's
Vee.
amazing. I just bought his second book, Crush It, or no, Crushing It,
Crushing it.
and I'm currently reading through that. But yeah, no, I mean, there's Gary Vee. Um, in my own field, in my own passion, obviously, I'm into bartending, like primarily. I'm actually in the bar that I work at. This is where my setup is because I don't have any of the stuff at home. But no, bartending is a thing that I love, and I'm sure our viewers have heard it time and time again. But just famous bartenders who have worked for really really good people in really good places. But yeah, they're the people who really I aspire to, the people that I really they grab my interest, and I want to see what they've done, replicate it, do it better, etc. Like anyone else does. What about you, Dan? Is there anyone that you're inspired by?
I kind of look at it as in whatever genre I'm trying to focus on, whether it be fitness and diet related or horse racing related or motivational and business related. I always try and find a specific person who's excelling in that industry or doing more than everyone else is. So Gary Vee, 100%. I've spoken about a lot about him on this podcast before, but he's got me through some dark and tough times. I can assure you that. So him definitely for motivation and for business aspects. Like, I genuinely don't think this podcast would have been started if Gary Vee had never talked about something and I'd listened to it. Like the way that went on in terms of diet and like fitness and stuff. Anthony Joshua, someone I always look up to, kind of his boxing, how successful he is in that kind of really inspires me. And then in terms of horse racing, I'd say one of the ex-jockeys called AP McCoy. So I recently just watched his documentary that he came out with few years ago now, just after he retired. And some of the stuff that jockeys go through is crazy. Like the amount of injuries they take, the amount of like the weight cuts they have to do to be able to ride certain horses in certain races. I kind of try and focus on whatever industry I'm interested in and then pick the top person in that industry and in that field.
I think
Nice.
it's really good to have someone in a certain, as you said, like someone in that industry that almost like sets the benchmark and like they've done it. Do you know what I mean? So you can just like and the things that they speak about, what they've done wrong, what they've done right, you can implement it into your own life. So yeah, I definitely agree with that.
We've talked about a lot of issues today. Are we good with sort of closing this?
I want to ask
Yeah,
one
okay.
final question. Where do you see yourself, Fred, in 5 years' time?
Yeah, so hopefully within 5 years, obviously I'll be finishing university, so I'll come out with my degree, and hopefully have a portfolio of music that I've created and that I've sort of created for other people and produced. So obviously I want to be a freelance music producer or record producer, because obviously the majority of the industry now is all freelance. So yeah, as I said, with the YouTube and potentially TikTok and things like this, sort of build up a following, and just have a wide portfolio of different genres that I've made, and just be a freelance record producer. Even if it's just enough to support myself, as long as I'm doing something that I love, which is music, and it's paying the bills, and you can't complain.
I definitely think you should post more on like all your socials and that, because obviously I'm a good friend and I want to see you smash it and succeed. So I want to see your whole journey right from the start, mate. So
Yeah, thank you very much.
I mean,
Yeah, I will.
hopefully,
I'll take that into account.
hopefully you can come on, like, I don't know, a year, 2 years from now, and tell us about this new big project, and we can promote it for you
Yeah,
and
I'd
see
love
where
to.
you've come from this podcast. But yeah, no, and I think that just about covers everything that we wanted to talk about today.
Thank you very much for obviously having me on.
Oh,
I've
please.
really enjoyed it. And yeah, hopefully you can come back in a year's time or something like that and see how far we've gone.
Well, with that, thank you, Fred, for coming on the podcast. All of his
No worries.
socials and the Onstage Collective and anything related to Fred will be in the description down below. If you want to check out me and Dan, we'll be down in the description below as well. Anything else that we've mentioned will also be down there. Thank you, Fred, for coming. And I think that's us from the Unstructured Podcast. We'll see you next time in a bit.